If you drink a glass of milk before bed thinking it's helping your blood sugar, what I'm about to tell you might genuinely surprise you, because there's one specific type of milk that a lot of diabetics reach for at night, believing it's the safe choice, when it might actually be working against them while they sleep. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one it is, why it happens, and what you should be reaching for instead. So stay with me, because this is one of those things your doctor probably never had time to fully explain to you. Welcome back to Prime Health Insight, the channel where we break down real, practical health information in a way that actually makes sense without the confusing medical jargon. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button right now, because we post videos just like this one that can genuinely change the way you take care of yourself, especially if you or someone you love is living with diabetes. It takes 2 seconds, and it means you won't miss the next video, which might be even more important than this one. Now let's get into it. Diabetes is one of those conditions where the little things matter more than people realize. It's not just about your big meals or your medication schedule. It's about the small habits, the things you do without thinking, the glass of something you drink right before you turn off the lights and go to sleep. And for millions of people managing blood sugar, that nightly glass of milk has become a kind of ritual. It feels wholesome. It feels traditional. Your grandmother probably told you warm milk helps you sleep better. And there's some truth to that. Milk does contain natural compounds that can support relaxation. But here's the problem. Not all milk is created equal, and when you're diabetic, the type of milk you choose before bed can either work with your body overnight or quietly work against it while you're completely unaware because you're asleep and you can't feel it happening. Let's talk about what actually happens in your body overnight if you have diabetes, because this is the part most people don't fully understand. While you sleep, your body doesn't just shut off and rest. Your liver is still working. In the early morning hours, your liver naturally releases stored glucose into your bloodstream to give your body energy for when you wake up. This is a completely normal process, and it happens in people without diabetes too. But if you have diabetes, especially type 2, your body may struggle to manage that release properly. This is often called the dawn phenomenon, and it's one of the reasons some people wake up with higher blood sugar than they went to bed with, even if they didn't eat anything overnight. Now, layer on top of that whatever you drink right before bed, and you can see why the choice matters so much. If what you're drinking adds extra sugar into the mix on top of what your liver is already doing naturally, you're essentially stacking the problem. So which milk is the one diabetic should actually be cautious about before bed? It's flavored and sweetened milk, particularly the popular chocolate and vanilla flavored dairy and non-dairy milks that line grocery store shelves, marketed as healthy, wholesome bedtime drinks. This includes many of the flavored almond milks, flavored oat milks, and flavored dairy milks that taste smooth and comforting, but are loaded with added sugars that plain milk simply doesn't have. Here's the part that catches people off guard. A lot of these products are marketed using words like natural, wholesome, or even sometimes marketed toward health-conscious buyers, plant-based, dairy-free, which makes people assume they're automatically better for blood sugar. But plant-based doesn't mean sugar-free, and dairy-free doesn't mean carbohydrate-free. In fact, some flavored plant milks contain more added sugar per serving than a can of soda, and most people would never in a million years drink soda before bed if they were diabetic, but they don't think twice about a glass of flavored milk because it feels like a health food. This is exactly the kind of thing that slips past people, not because they're careless, but because the marketing is designed to make you feel like you're making a smart choice. Nobody puts a big warning label on the front of a chocolate milk carton saying this contains as much sugar as dessert. It's tucked away in the nutrition facts on the side, in small print, in grams that most people don't stop to convert into teaspoons in their head before they pour a glass and drink it 30 minutes before falling asleep. Now, before we go further, if you're finding this useful so far, do me a favor and drop a comment down below telling me what type of milk you usually drink before bed. I read every single comment, and it genuinely helps me know what to cover in future videos. So don't be shy, just type it out, even if it's something you think might be the wrong answer, because that's exactly the kind of thing this channel is here to help clear up. Let's go a little deeper into why sweetened milk specifically causes problems overnight, because understanding the why is what makes this information actually stick instead of just being another rule you follow without knowing the reason behind it. When you drink something with added sugar, your blood glucose rises fairly quickly because sugar is a simple carbohydrate that your body absorbs fast. During the day, when you're up and moving around, your body has more opportunities to use that glucose for energy, and your muscles can help pull some of that sugar out of your bloodstream through activity. But at night, when you're lying still and your metabolism naturally slows down for sleep, that same glucose spike has nowhere to go. It just sits in your bloodstream longer, which means your blood sugar stays elevated for a longer stretch of time while you're asleep and unable to do anything about it. Combine that with the natural glucose release from your liver in the early morning hours, and you can end up with blood sugar levels that are meaningfully higher when you wake up than when you went to bed, even though you technically didn't eat a meal. This is why some people who are very careful about their dinner, who count every carb at the table, still wake up confused about why their morning blood sugar reading is high. They're doing everything right during the day, and then undoing some of that progress with one seemingly innocent glass of flavored milk before bed. It's one of those hidden habits that doesn't get talked about enough, because it doesn't feel like a big meal. It feels like a small, comforting bedtime routine. Now here's where it gets even more interesting, because milk itself, in its plain, unsweetened form, actually behaves very differently in the body. Plain milk contains a natural sugar called lactose, but it also contains protein and fat, and this combination changes how your body processes it. Protein and fat slow down digestion, which means the natural sugar in plain milk is released into your bloodstream more gradually compared to the fast sugar hit you get from flavored, sweetened versions. This is a really important distinction because it means the same base product, milk, can behave completely differently depending on whether it's plain or flavored, sweetened or unsweetened. This is why many doctors and diabetes educators, when they do recommend milk before bed at all, are talking about small portions of plain, unsweetened milk, not the flavored kind, and definitely not large glasses of it. Portion size matters here too, and this is something that often gets overlooked. Even plain milk contains carbohydrates from that natural lactose, so drinking a large glass right before bed can still raise blood sugar more than a smaller portion would. This is why so many diabetes-focused guidelines emphasize moderation and portion awareness rather than just labeling a food as good or bad. It's rarely that black and white. A small glass of plain milk is a very different choice than a large mug of chocolate-flavored milk, even though both technically fall under the same word, milk. If you're someone who genuinely enjoys a bedtime drink and doesn't want to give up that comforting ritual, there are better alternatives worth knowing about, and I want to walk you through these because this channel isn't about telling you to be miserable and give up everything you enjoy. It's about helping you make smarter swaps that still feel satisfying. Unsweetened almond milk, unsweetened soy milk, and unsweetened oat milk in small portions tend to have a much gentler effect on blood sugar compared to their flavored counterparts because the added sugar is simply not there. Soy milk in particular is often highlighted because it naturally contains a bit more protein than almond milk, which can help slow down how quickly any natural sugars affect your bloodstream. Some people also find that a small amount of plain Greek yogurt, which contains milk-based protein without the added sugar of flavored yogurts, can be a satisfying nighttime option that's gentler on blood sugar than a sweetened milk drink. The key thing to remember, and I really want this to stick with you, is that the word unsweetened is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. Whatever type of milk you choose, dairy or plant-based, always check that label for unsweetened versions, because that one word can be the difference between a bedtime drink that supports your blood sugar goals and one that quietly works against them overnight. Something else worth mentioning, because I think it's genuinely helpful and not talked about enough, is that everyone's body responds a little differently to food, including milk. Diabetes management isn't one size fits all, and the way your body processes a glass of milk might be a little different from how someone else's body processes the exact same glass. This is exactly why many diabetes educators recommend something simple but incredibly effective, checking your blood sugar before you go to bed, and then checking it again when you wake up on a few different nights after trying different bedtime drinks. This gives you real, personal data about how your own body responds, rather than relying purely on general advice, because general advice is a great starting point, but your own numbers, tracked over time, tell you the real story for your specific body. This is also a great thing to bring up with your doctor at your next appointment, not as a big dramatic conversation, but as a simple question, something like, "Hey, I've been drinking this type of milk before bed. Does that sound like a good choice based on my numbers?" Doctors genuinely appreciate when patients come in with specific, thoughtful questions like that, because it shows you're paying attention to your own health, and it gives them a clear starting point to give you personalized advice rather than generic guidelines. Now let's talk about something that ties all of this together, because I think it's the real lesson hiding inside this whole topic. So much of diabetes management isn't about giant dramatic changes. It's about these small, quiet decisions that happen every single day without much thought. The bedtime drink is a perfect example. It feels so small, so insignificant, just a glass of something before you go to sleep. And yet it can have a real, measurable impact on how your body behaves overnight and what your morning numbers look like. And the flip side of that is actually really encouraging because it means small changes, the right small changes, can genuinely make a positive difference too. You don't have to overhaul your entire life to see improvement. Sometimes it really can be as simple as swapping one type of milk for another, or reducing a portion size, or choosing unsweetened over flavored. I want to take a moment here to talk about why this kind of information matters so much, and why I think channels like this one are important. There is so much health content out there that either scares people unnecessarily or oversimplifies things to the point where the advice doesn't actually help anyone. What I try to do here on Prime Health Insight is give you the real explanation behind the advice, not just a rule to follow blindly, but an understanding of why that rule exists, so that you can apply that thinking to other choices in your life too, not just milk before bed. Once you understand that added sugar plus a still, resting body overnight equals a longer blood sugar elevation, you start noticing that same pattern in other areas of your evening routine too. And that kind of understanding is so much more valuable than just being handed a list of do's and don'ts. If this video has been helpful to you so far, this is the perfect moment to hit that share button and send this to someone in your life who's managing diabetes, whether that's a parent, a spouse, a friend, or even yourself if you just want to save it for later. You would genuinely be surprised how many people don't know this simple distinction between flavored and unsweetened milk, and sharing this video might be the exact nudge someone needs to make a small change that helps their morning blood sugar numbers. It costs you nothing, takes 2 seconds, and it could make a real difference for someone you care about. Let's also touch on timing, because when you drink your bedtime, milk matters almost as much as what you're drinking. Having a small glass of plain, unsweetened milk right as you're about to fall asleep gives your body very little time to process it before your metabolism naturally slows down for the night. If you do enjoy a bedtime drink, having it 30 minutes to an hour before you actually lie down and sleep can give your body a slightly better window to start processing it while you're still somewhat active, even if that just means moving around your house, finishing your nighttime routine, brushing your teeth, that sort of thing. It's a small adjustment, but small adjustments are what this whole topic has been about. I also want to gently address something, because I think it's important to say clearly. Nothing in this video is meant to replace the advice of your own doctor or diabetes care team. Everybody's situation is different. Some people are on specific medications that interact with food timing in unique ways. Some people have other health conditions alongside diabetes that change what's recommended for them specifically. What this video is meant to do is give you a clearer, more informed starting point, so that when you do talk to your doctor, you're asking better, more specific questions, and you understand the reasoning behind whatever personalized advice they give you. Something that I think is genuinely fascinating and worth sitting with for a moment is just how much power lies in these small nighttime habits that most of us have never questioned. We grow up with certain routines, milk before bed being one of the most classic examples, and we just carry them into adulthood without ever stopping to ask whether that habit still serves us the way we think it does. Diabetes has a way of forcing you to look at your habits with fresh eyes, to question things you never questioned before, and while that can feel overwhelming at first, it's actually one of the most empowering parts of managing this condition well. You start to understand your own body in a way that most people never bother to. Before we wrap up, let's quickly recap the core of what we covered today, because I want to make sure this sticks with you long after this video ends. Flavored and sweetened milk, whether dairy or plant-based, tends to be the version diabetics should be most cautious about before bed, because the added sugar creates a fast glucose spike that has nowhere to go while you're sleeping still, and it stacks on top of your body's natural early morning glucose release, potentially leading to higher morning blood sugar numbers. Plain, unsweetened milk in reasonable portions behaves very differently in the body because the natural protein and fat slow down how quickly the natural sugar is absorbed. And the real key takeaway, the thing I want you to remember from this entire video, is that word, unsweetened. Whatever bedtime drink you choose, checking for that word on the label can make a meaningful difference in how your body handles it overnight. I also want to remind you that tracking your own blood sugar before and after trying different bedtime drinks gives you the clearest, most personal answer of all, because at the end of the day, your body is the ultimate source of truth, more than any general video, more than any article, more than anything anyone else tells you, including me. Use this information as a starting point, track your own numbers, and have that conversation with your doctor, and you'll end up with a bedtime routine that's actually built around what works specifically for you. If you found this video valuable, make sure you're subscribed to Prime Health Insight, because we're covering topics exactly like this one regularly, breaking down the small, overlooked habits that have a real impact on managing diabetes and overall health, explained in a way that actually makes sense without overwhelming you with confusing medical language. Drop a comment down below and let me know what other bedtime habits or food-related questions you'd like us to cover next, whether that's about breakfast choices, snacking habits, or anything else related to managing blood sugar day to day, because your comments genuinely shape what we cover on this channel. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, go ahead and share this video with them right now, because sometimes the smallest piece of information is exactly what someone needs to start feeling more in control of their health. Thanks so much for watching, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.